Good morning, everyone. You'll note I'm on the tea this morning and not the coffee. I'm trying to set my day off on a healthy, positive note. I've got so many planty things that I want to get through today, and so many things that I'm genuinely really excited to do. But I'm just also very aware that I have been burning the candle at both ends a lot recently, and I've been feeling a little bit stressed and I haven't been well. And so, yeah, I wanted to use today as kind of like a self-care, reset, calm planty day, because I have the tendency to go into things all guns blazing, and I'd like to just take a bit of a step back today, slow things down, and yeah, hopefully come away from it just feeling a little bit more relaxed. So yeah, that is the plan going into today. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Yoli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learned over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And yeah, I've got a lot of things that I would like to try and work my way through today. So if you've got planty things to do as well, or just some self-care that you've been putting off, then feel free to do it along with me. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So this is the first morning in quite a while that I've come into the living room in the morning, and it's been dark and quite cold. You'll notice I'm wearing a jumper this morning, and not that we've exactly had, in fact, we've had far from a tropical summer here in the UK, but it really feels like the seasons are changing very, very quickly. And I love autumn. I absolutely love it. But knowing that we're heading towards winter, it's just the dark mornings and the dark evenings that I just find a little bit sad sometimes. I know it's like cozy and nice, but oh my God, I love the light mornings more than anything. So yeah, it just kind of makes you think that you have to be a little bit more precious about the time in your day when you've got less hours of light, because it feels like your days end sooner. So sometimes I do find that can make me a little bit more focused. I'm hoping that's the case. But while I'm just sitting here having my tea, I just wanted to firstly show you such an exciting update, and then take you through, maybe I'll just take you through one or two things that I would like to get through today. But you might remember I chopped up my Hoya latifolia Sarawak, I think probably about 5 months ago now. Also, I'm very far from central in this shot. But yeah, I have propagated lots of sections of it, and it's been doing amazingly well. And in a Patreon live chat the other day, I decided to pot all of the sections of it up together, and are you ready to see it? So this plant previously only had 3 leaves, and then it gave me 2, and then it lost leaves, and it basically just had like no leaves. But this is what it's looking like now. How magnificent is that? And it's got growth going all the way around the trellis. Very sadly, I did bend it the wrong way and I broke a bit already. I'm hoping the sellotape is going to hold it. Honestly, I've got so many plants held together with sellotape at the moment. I don't know what's wrong with me. But yeah, so that is what it's looking like. And I'm so happy I did the chop, because it's just allowed the plants to grow back in such a beautiful, beautiful way that I feel like has just really set it up for success. So yeah, good choices. I'm just going to take you through this one because this is right next to me. But one of the things that I would really like to do today is do some things to my imported plants. And this is my Philodendron Majestic that I got in my Aroid Asia order not that long ago, I think only about a month ago or so. And it's done amazingly well for me in the time that I've had it, and it's already growing off this moss pole. So I'd ideally like to extend this moss pole today if I possibly can, get the aerial roots going in there and hopefully kind of strengthen the plant, get it growing bigger, fuller, happier. But also I have just currently got it in sphagnum moss, and I think I would probably I've been kind of going back and forth in my mind about what to do about this one, but I think I would like to get it potted up in a really chunky mix. So yeah, there's things to be done here. There's also things I'd like to do, as I say, to other imported plants. There's also some other plants that have got a bit of drama going on with them that I'd like to do things to. But yeah, I'm I think first I'm gonna have my tea, I'm gonna have a shower, I'm gonna do some skincare. I need to do a dog walk at some point as well, but we will get to that. But yeah, then we can go through everything else and get on with some planty things. I accidentally showered with a plant. So typically I would be doing my skincare routine through in the bathroom, but Ross is actually in a meeting at the moment. So for audio's sake, I thought I would do it through here with a cup of coffee with you guys. But I have spoken to you before about this weird little thing from Foreo, and they've actually partnered again with me for today's video, so thank you so much, Foreo. But I started using this when my skin was not in a particularly good state. I was breaking out like crazy, and it basically just helped to get my skin back to a place where I was really happy with it again. So it's been a regular part of my routine ever since. And basically it's just a deep facial hydration device that you pop their sheet masks into. It then uses a combination of cryotherapy, thermotherapy, LED therapy, and T-sonic massage to give you the equivalent of 5 spa facials in one, and just helps your skin to absorb everything really well. You can use that app on your phone to control the settings, or you can use it manually. Today I'm using green light cryotherapy to even out my skin tone. And they have sent me quite a few of their masks to try as well, but my favourite, I've got to say, is still the H2 Overdose. I absolutely love it. The last time I spoke to you about Foreo, I took photos every single day and I tracked my progress, and the results were really, really amazing. But now, having used it over a longer period of time regularly, I can just really feel the benefit in my skin. Like, it feels overall more hydrated, more supple. The tone of my skin 100% has improved as well. I feel way more confident leaving the house and filming without makeup, for example. So yeah, it is honestly just the best addition to my skincare routine. If you'd be interested in giving it a go, then you can get 30% off when you click the link down in the description box below. And on top of that, the first 50 people to click the link down below and use my code will also get an additional 10% off. So thank you so much, Foreo, again for partnering with me, and I will leave all the details you need down below. And now that I've said all I need to say, I'm going to do the noisy bit and put the T-sonic pulsations on. And then if there's any serum left over, I will just rub it in to my face. And then apart from that, I'm trying to get into the habit of putting sun cream on every day. I only found out very recently that I was meant to wear sun cream every day, because I have been brought up thinking that you only need to wear it on holiday, and that is not the case. So at almost 31, I'm getting into skincare and putting on my sun cream. But yeah, that's all we're gonna do today. But it's relaxing and it feels nice. Perfect. Okay, let's set up and get on with some planty things, shall we? Ooh, I am carrying 3 very large containers of water. And miraculously I didn't spill that. But before I start doing things, I just wanted to show you a few new plants that I've got literally in the last 24 hours. As you guys know, I'm getting a little bit more into begonias at the moment, and I found a few really, really great sellers on Etsy, and I've just discovered a new fantastic seller, which again, I always feel a little bit reluctant to talk about in videos because I'm like, I want to keep it all for myself, but honestly, I would highly, highly recommend this person. I'll put their details on the screen there. But I was swayed by a begonia that I saw that is not what I would typically go for, because it is actually quite pink, and I'm gonna have to put all the names of these on the screen as well, because I cannot for the life of me remember any of their names. But it looks like a pink version of the begonia Sinbad, which is the one that has made me fall in love with begonias. I think it's just amazing. It's very droopy at the moment just because I've only just put it in water, but that is what it looks like. Isn't that just amazing? It's got the same kind of like, I don't know, like polka dotty-ness to it. And honestly, like, in fact, I'll bring my begonia Sinbad over so I can hold them side by side and show you. Yeah, so as I say, it's got a completely different name, but this is my Begonia Sinbad. And if you just look at that leaf and then you compare, it's like, as I say, this is just the pink version of the plant, and I've no idea. I don't know. I really don't know much about them. I'm getting to know begonias as I go because I'm only just kind of dipping a toe in the water. But then the other one that I ordered is this one. Again, name will be on the screen, but look how gorgeous that is. I feel like begonias are making me step out of my comfort zone a little bit because they have got so many amazing, like, beautiful shades and colours, and I'm typically a very green gal, and this would probably have scared me 6 months ago, so I feel quite proud of myself, but I'm also just really excited. It's so dramatic. And again, I'm just propping this one in water. It has also got a new little leaf just there getting ready to unfurl. And then obviously, as you can see, those were very generous cuttings, but the seller also included a cutting of a begonia that I have no idea what it is. If you guys know, please let me know down in the comments below. But this one is just beautiful. And as I say, I did not order this, but isn't that amazing? It's got such a lovely kind of iridescence to its leaves. These are almost like a pinky silver colour. It's just amazing. So yeah, I'm really, really excited by these. I'm super, super, super excited. And I know I said recently that I was wanting to potentially add a few new things to my collection. These were some of the begonias that I was eyeing up at the time when I said that. So I have made a couple of little purchases, but I have just gone, oh, apart from one plant, I have just gone with cuttings on the whole. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to growing these ones. And so far, with my limited experience with begonia, I have propped them all exclusively in water. So that's what I'm doing for these ones. I have transitioned some to soil quite early on, like the Sinbad, for example. This one I put in soil when it wasn't even completely rooted. And as you can see, it's doing incredibly. I've actually temporarily taken it off. Whoa! The stake that I put it on, just because it was kind of wanting to climb off, and now it's got loads of little growth points coming there. So I think it's going to be ginormous in no time. But yeah, I'm so proud of it, and it's been such a rewarding and such an easy plant to grow as well. And I love having plants that I can appreciate and not have to do a huge amount to. However, this plant, this one I showed you at the beginning of the video, this is my Philodendron Majestic, and I have hydrated its moss pole. I've just got water at the bottom there, so I'm just going to empty that out. But this was basically just a temporary measure that I did before I went away on holiday, because I wanted to get the aerial roots kind of putting into the moss and forming a root system. I'm not sure, it's hard to tell what's moss and what's not, but I have a feeling that there could be a really big aerial root. And as I say, I was going to extend the moss pole, but I do have one more of these moss poles that I got from Amazon, and this is quite a big one, so I'm thinking this will probably, it's not going to do it long term still, but maybe this will do it for the next couple of months, and then again I can extend. So yeah, I think to start with, I'm going to just get all of the sphagnum moss off the roots and try and just get this out as much as I possibly can, very, very gently, and then I can do a gentle transfer over to a nice chunky potting mix. And currently I've just used these bits of green Velcro to secure the plants. And I just need to make sure that when I take them off, it doesn't pull the plants away too much, because I don't want to damage the aerial roots that are in there. It would be nice to see how much it's actually started to grip on in quite a short space of time. Oh yeah, it's properly attached. Look. That's me giving it a very gentle pull, and it does not want to budge. So I think I'm going to open up the moss pole at the back and just try and ease it through again. Also, I had no idea, and it was only from you guys commenting after I had posted the video where I did this, that actually this is like a film can see here it's been damaged, and I can peel it off and it can be nice and shiny. I had no idea, so I haven't done it with this one, but I will do it with the extension. Can you see what I'm doing? There we go. But back on the note of self-care, one of the things that also I have found, like, I've just been really enjoying doing recently. I've never been a particularly girly girl, or it's never been something that's particularly interested me before, but I've really been enjoying doing my nails, and these are actually press-ons at the moment. I've been getting these sets of like blank press-ons, and then I've just been decorating them without them being on my fingers, because I often find that, I mean, I find it really difficult to do my opposite hand without kind of messing it up. So yeah, it's been great actually, because if I want my nails to look nice, which typically is like if I'm going out or in videos or something like that, I can literally just pop a set on that I've already done. I know you can buy like pre-made sets and stuff, but I quite enjoy doing it like this. So yeah, I feel like the older I get, the more kind of like self-care practices I'm starting to bring into my life. And like, I don't really know if you can call doing your nails self-care, but it's, I think, just the things that make you relax and I guess switch off from technology, and all of these things have replaced my, like, a lot of practices I had. I was going to say a lot of practices I had in my youth, when I was in my 20s, let's say, like going out with friends and staying out late. And not that I don't love doing a little bit of that from time to time, but it is such a cliche, but as you get older, you do just tend to enjoy spending more time at home and, like, I don't know, the little things in life. I really do love it, and I do not care if that makes me sound boring. It just makes me feel so good, and I'm like, I need to continue to embrace more and more things like that in my life. So yeah, if there's anything that you guys do that you, like, maybe if it's not conventional self-care, anything that you feel helps you to unwind and relax, please comment it down below, because I would love to know, and it might help, it might really, really help someone that's reading it. So do let me know. Also, this is really easy. I'm really glad this worked. I was like, hopefully it won't be too fiddly. Ooh. Wow, I am impressed. Look at these aerial roots. That's amazing. This has literally just been, as I say, within the last, I think the last month. It was just before I went away I did this, and I'm very glad that I did. So yeah, now I'm just gonna, this might be the trickier bit, attempt to get the main root system, which is already coming out of the bottom of the pot, attempt to get that out of the sphagnum moss so that I can transfer it to soil. I'm gonna give these roots a little trim. But yeah, I often, I think, like, I think what I'm trying to say is I don't deal with stress particularly well. I think I get overwhelmed quite easily. I can be, don't get me wrong, I can be remarkably amazing at juggling lots of things at once, but like, I think this last month there have been so many, like, not massive things in themselves, they're not massive things, but so many little things that have just piled up. You know, when you think you've done everything and then you'll suddenly be reminded of like a really important thing that you haven't done, and then you realise there's a whole list of it, and it's just kind of been like that non-stop for a little while. And trying to balance downtime to do planty stuff and actually again, self-care, like practice some self-care, has been really quite tricky recently. And I think, again, this is one of the reasons why I've really got into skincare, because it is, I don't know, it's just an easy thing to factor into. You don't have to do a huge long routine, but for me it's been quite an easy thing to just factor in and actually get into a routine of doing, because I can be so bad at forming routines. And I think often, like, even though you know you function well with routine, actually finding one that works can be so difficult, because I will often, I latch onto things and I hyper focus on things so easily, and I never realise at the time that they are a hyper focus or anything like that. I always think that they'll last forever. But for example, like, I will get myself into a really great morning routine where I'm up early, I do some exercise, I do the dog walk, I make my breakfast, and like I'm cracking on with work, and that will last really well for, let's say, a week. And when I'm in it, I will always think, no, this will, like, I will never let myself fall out of this pattern, like, oh, I finally found it. And all of a sudden I'm out of it and I'm in something new, and it's like, oh. But the thing for me with skincare has been that it's for the last like 8 months now, it's really felt like something that I can keep up with, even if the rest of my routine is changing a lot. So yeah, it's a really nice feeling. And obviously it doesn't have to be skincare, it could be something completely different. It's different from person to person, but for me it is just something that I've loved. And actually yesterday, me and Emma, Good Growing, we had a fun day out in London together, and we went to Sephora, which I have, like, as I say, very new to the whole skincare world. But Sephora, if you don't know, is a massive, I think it's an American, kind of like an American version of, I don't really know if we've even got one. I was going to say like a Boots or a Superdrug, but it's more than that. It's basically like, it houses all of these brands of skincare, makeup, all of these like really lovely pampering things in one. And I had no idea that they even had them in the UK. And we went to Westfield in London, and was like, yeah, they've got the Sephora. So we went for a browse around there, and we were trying on like fun glitters and hand creams and lipsticks and all sorts. And literally we were messaging, I think, about 5 minutes before I started filming this video, and we were like, oh my god, we need to make time for stuff like this more often. Because when I was a teenager, I think when I was, I don't know, first kind of playing about with makeup and stuff, I mean, nowadays I very rarely wear it, but when I was kind of really getting into stuff like that, that was just kind of like the done thing. After school, you'd go around and you'd try on, like, I don't know, back in my day it was like was it Maybelline matte mousse, and like those like really goopy lip glosses that your hair got stuck in, and all those sort of things. Does anyone remember those? But yeah, I haven't really done anything like that since then. I think I kind of grew out of that, and that felt a bit childish, and now I'm getting I don't want to say old, because I'm absolutely not old, but as I get older, it's really nice to kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like what I was saying about plants recently. It just feels like playing again, and it's something that there's no pressure with, and it's just quite fun. So yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it, and need to make more time to do things like that. Oh my god, also, these roots are insane. It had a decent root system, but it didn't have a massive root system when I first put it into sphagnum moss. And like, I'll be able to show you better when I've got it all off, but you can see why I'm struggling, because they are just interwoven all through the moss. And that's the only thing about propagating plants that do have a really spindly root system. Like, for example, like Hoyas as well, and satin begonias. I really love cropping in sphagnum moss. It is 99% of the time my go-to thing to use, just because it's really reliable, it works really well. But when it comes time to actually removing everything, it's like you can't tell what is root and what is moss, and you end up damaging the root system. So I'm just trying to be so careful. Have any of you guys got any new plants recently? And if so, what have you got? Also, I very much want to continue my weird plants series. I enjoy making those videos so much. And most of the contributions I get from those videos now do come from you guys. Like, I've got a list of plants that I've found, and I continue to just add to that list. But when I'm sitting down and kind of doing research, making those videos, I will go with the weirdest ones I've got. So sometimes that means I don't use any of mine. I think the last one, I barely used any of my own ones. So yeah, please keep your suggestions coming. I know some of you have messaged me over on Instagram. I will continue to say it. I am hopeless with my Instagram messages. Please don't take it personally. But yeah, comment them down below this video. I do read all your comments. It would be lovely to get some more weird and wonderful ones to add to the list, because yeah, at some point over the next couple of weeks, I'd really like to do I think it'd be a part 4 now. It's turned into quite a fun little series. Nature's just amazing, isn't it? I know that's such an obvious thing to say. I was about to say something that will make a lot of people probably roll their eyes, but I'm going to say it anyway. Life is just really amazing, like in all its shapes and forms, and I feel like obviously I do stuff with plants like day in, day out. I'm very much presented with plants, but like just in general, it's just really crazy how life just keeps itself going. Like, you plant a seed, like a little pip in the ground, and it grows into a massive tree, and then that produces more trees, or like humans and animals make babies, and it's just like it's magic, isn't it? It is. We just accept it because it is just how it is, and it's just the norm, but it is like magic. It just blows my mind. These are the sort of things that, I don't know, the sort of questions that you kind of almost can't think too much about, because it just blows your mind. It's like, I don't know where I'm going on a massive tangent here, but it's like when you look out at the stars at night, and you just think like that is just endless, or like we don't know what's out there. I saw a thing recently that popped up on Instagram, so probably not the most reliable source, but I think it was backed by a news company, saying that NASA have spotted a planet, I think like millions of light years away, but they've detected city light on this planet, which very much suggests there's more of us out there, which isn't really a surprise, is it? Like, considering how vast the universe is, it's not really a surprise that there are lots more of us. But it's just insane. It's just the unknown. Yeah, this is why, like, whenever people say, like, do you believe in aliens? Like, I mean, alien is literally just like an object that is alien, an object that comes from somewhere else, like a living thing that comes from somewhere else. And I think, personally, anyone would be crazy to say no, because like there's bound to be, there's absolutely bound to be. And there could be other planets like exactly like Earth. There could be millions of them, like absolutely millions of them. And the other thing that I find really weird is that there could be loads of planets out there that are way further ahead, like technology-wise, than we are, that are aware of everything that goes on Earth. Like, they might even watch us like a TV show. Do you know what I mean? Like, thinking of how we have progressed technology-wise in such a short space of time, like, God, I think about how things were. I was born in the 90s, and I think about how things have come along since I was born, and it blows my mind. If you add another, let's just say like 1,000 years onto what we've got right now, think about where we could be, and imagine that there is a planet out there that is that far ahead. Like, it's so possible they could be looking at us. They could be like watching me film this video right now, or watching you watch it. It's so weird. Yeah, anyway, these are the weird things that my brain goes to a lot of the time, and I very rarely say them out loud. But they're just fun things to think about, aren't they? Because the possibilities are just endless. And then again, it's not the same, but it's similar thinking when you talk about like what happens when we die. And I know everybody has got a different thought, feeling, sense, whatever you want to call it, of what happens next. And like, obviously you can't know unless you're not here to talk about it anymore. So that's another thing that over the years has really, like, I've really thought long and hard about. I read a book actually years ago called The Afterlife Experiments. I think that's what it was called. And I remember one thing really stuck with me. And also I just want to say, I don't quite know what I believe about this. Personally, I remain very open-minded, but I'm not entirely sure. Also, just before I carry on with that sentence, look at those roots. Aren't they beautiful? So yeah, I'm just going to mix up something really nice and chunky with lots of bark, lots of tree fern fibre. I'm going to pot it up. But yes, as I say, I read this book like a really long time ago. Someone in my family very close to me had just passed away, and it felt kind of relevant, and I was thinking about it more than ever. They did this experiment where in a hospital ward, I believe, where people were, or maybe it was even a hospice ward, people were kind of like coming and going, let's say. They taped newspaper articles to the ceiling facing up, so you could only see the newspaper articles if you were literally above them looking down. And lots of people that died and then were brought back were able to tell them what was said on these newspaper articles. And I mean, I think take everything with a grain of salt. I'm like, I don't know. I as I say, I am quite sceptical about these things, but also that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. If there's even a grain of truth in that, that's incredible. It really blows my mind. And I think, like, as I continue to say, like, obviously my opinion is my opinion, yours are yours. There's no one that is wrong or right, or like that can ever be proven. But I personally think what I, like, on some level feel is that when we leave this stage of life, we are leaving the physical stage. And I think that it just carries on, but in different kind of, I don't know if you want to call them dimensions, but this is just one level of life. I think it doesn't stop. That's my opinion on it anyway. That sits really well with me, and that feels really right. And who knows, my opinions and thoughts may change as time goes on, but that's very strongly what I feel. And again, like, God, it's such an interesting conversation. I know it's something that some people really don't like talking about, and that's totally fine as well. But I'd be interested to know what you guys feel about it. No pressure to share that, but if you would like to, I'd be interested. So I've actually got quite a chunky mix here. It doesn't have a lot of soil in it. I mixed this up for some Hoyas the other day. I'm going to add just a little bit more soil, tree fern fibre. I brought all of this over. That's it. Yes, I brought it all over. And some worm castings as well. I'm trying to work quite quickly just because I don't want these roots to be exposed for any longer than they need to be to the air, just because they are really spindly and they can dry out quite quickly. In fact, I could pop them into maybe some water. I might actually just fill up the pot that they were in with water. I'll just sit in that for a moment. God, I cannot believe those roots. The aerial roots, again, I'm just going to try and leave in this pile of moss so that they don't dry out. Because again, they formed such a lovely root system. I would hate to lose it because I'm repotting it. my God, the other thing as well, which I debated doing on camera, but I actually don't quite know how I'm going to go about it. It's also not that interesting. Oh, breathe in tree foam fibre. But what am I doing? My bird of paradise this morning, I was at my desk and I just looked over and I noticed loads of webbing on one of the leaves, and it's got spider mites. It had spider mites, I think, about this time last year. And I was very lucky, actually. I only had to do one treatment. It, touch wood, is quite an easy plant to treat. But its leaves currently are hanging onto one of my shelves and they are touching other plants. So I'm going to have to give all of that area a really big check. It's right next to my Monstera dubia. It's right next to my Palladiflorum, which I love. So yeah, typically what I would do in this situation is I would bring it over here, give it a wipe down, and then take it to the balcony and give it like a really good spritz down with horticultural soap. I've actually got some left over here. Horticultural soap, neem oil, and some isopropyl alcohol. But because of the scaffolding at the moment, I can't get onto the balcony, and I definitely can't get that plant onto the balcony because it's so big. So I'm not entirely sure what to do, to be honest. I can't even get it through to the shower anymore because it's so big. So I guess I might have to spray it down in here, which I don't particularly want to do. It's very annoying. I was saying the other day, actually, on Patreon, the building works here, it's an absolute nightmare, and I will not refuse to bore you with the details because it honestly is so boring. But they've uncovered a load of things that are very bad news for everyone that lives here. Very, very, very bad news, in fact. And it means that for the time being, the scaffolding might actually have to come down, which is great news for me in my lighting situation because it means that I might not need to do a massive grow light setup. But yeah, it means that for the time being, the scaffold is up and nothing is happening, which is so frustrating. Right, I'm just very quickly going to change my camera battery because it's about to die, and then we can pot this one up. I'm not sure, oh, I need to make the new moss pole actually, but I was going to say I'm not sure what kind of pot size to do for this one actually. So it's been in that when it's been in sphagnum moss. Obviously the moss pole will now be going into the pot with the plant. Could go bigger because I've got such good drainage in there. Also, one thing that I asked you guys over on Instagram recently is what you use for tower pots as pretty pots, because obviously like they're so tall, although you can put them in, like I had this in the cube planter, typically you can always see them sticking out of the top. And lots of you then messaged me and said, oh my God, if you find a solution, please can you let us know? And I haven't found... There hasn't been anything that's maybe, oh my God, that's the answer. But there have been a few things that you guys have suggested. A couple of you, in fact, suggested, and I love this idea. I heard it a while back and I completely forgot about it. But a couple of you suggested using terracotta wine coolers. The person that messaged me about this a while ago was actually saying that I think you picked one up in a charity shop or something like that, and I'll see if I can find a picture and put it on the screen, but they look beautiful. And although width-wise it probably would be too big for something like this, for like that I think it would work really well and I think it would look lovely. So I am on the hunt for a vintage terracotta wine cooler. I'm watching a few on eBay and I'm like, that would be just a really lovely thing to grow in. And the other thing that I found on eBay as well is that, also I've noticed they've got holes so that you can actually extend this quite easily, which is nice. Yeah, the other thing I found on eBay was someone was selling some set, and I don't know the exact measurements, I don't know if they're going to work, but quite tall basket pots. Again, I'm not sure if they are actually meant for plants, but I have bid on, and in fact I've won a couple of them, so I'm gonna see how I get on with those. And I'll let you guys know. The other thing that was suggested was plant vases. And again, I think if you can find the right kind of vase, yeah, that could work brilliantly. But again, like, I often find that vases are almost the opposite to these pots. These pots start smaller and go out. Vases often go like that, obviously because that kind of looks more appealing, but for that reason, a lot of them don't fit these kind of pots. So the search continues, and if you have any other suggestions, I know I'm saying comment everything down below, but please do, because I love growing in tower pots. It is, especially for my anthuriums and certain aroids, it is my favourite way of growing. I feel like I'm able to monitor the roots really well. It offers really good aeration because obviously the gaps kind of go all the way up the sides and there's good drainage on the bottom. But I'd love it if we could make it look a little bit nicer. So yeah, please do let me know your suggestions. You could also, obviously, and this is something that I know would work, but it is a bit more effort. You could do what I don't even know if I've got any examples. Boston fern up here. What I do with, or what I have done in the past, should I say, with a lot of my pots, like this one here, is just use macrame cord and a glue gun and wrap it round the plant pot and just kind of like make it look nice like that. Also, on a separate note, how beautiful is my Boston fern? It's looking so well and healthy and I love it there. But yeah, you could do that with, if you have 2 tower pots, you could do it with one, and that could be like the pretty cover pot, and then you could put another one inside it. That would definitely be an option. Obviously it wouldn't provide any, like, what am I saying? It would still have drainage unless you sealed it somehow. Maybe I'll try that. Yeah. Right, okay, the time has come to make decisions. So, do I go with a big tower pot? Is that going to be too much? It's got a good root system. Or do I just, maybe just for the time being, I'm going to stick with the one that it was in. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with the one that it was in. That feels right. And as I say, I'm going to have to extend this moss pole, if it keeps growing at this rate, quite soon anyway. So, yeah, I may as well come back to it and do a repot and extension at the same time. And obviously I'm just going to start filling the moss from where the bottom is, which is going to be about here. And I'm just going to reuse the moss that I was already using. Oh, where did I say? I think it's about there. Maybe what I should do, this is going to be a little bit tricky, but you know when I took the plant off the moss pole and I showed you the aerial roots before I pulled them through, maybe I should try and feed them back through and fill the moss that way again. I don't know if that makes any sense what I just said, but I will show you. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Yeah, I kind of feel like I should do that, because otherwise I'm just going to be left with aerial roots like dangling next to the moss pole, and like poking them in might damage them. So I'm going to attempt to do that, which probably means potting the plant first. Oh, I might just be making things very complicated for myself, but I'm going to give it a go. Move the camera a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. I'm so sorry, I'm aware I often kind of set up these shots and then I'll start yabbering away and talking. There we go, that's better, isn't it? And yeah, I just don't remind myself to like take you with me. So what I've done, I've laid the plant, put the plant in the position that it's going to be potted in, and now I'm just going to thread very carefully its aerial roots back through the moss pole if I can, and then as I fill it in with moss, the aerial roots can just keep growing in the way that they were doing before. I don't think I would be able to do this if the plant's aerial root system was much bigger, or it would be incredibly fiddly if I did. But yeah, okay, that's worked pretty well. I'm happy with that. So now I'm gonna hold it carefully, fill the rest of the soil up, and then, oh, for God's sake. Right, we're gonna do it again. Like I just said, very carefully, Claire, carefully. I still need to decide as well what I am doing with my Monstera dubia. I have moved her slightly. I'll put a clip in so you can see. But I've moved her so she's not right in the middle of the window anymore, just because I've, as I say, had to try and, try it again, maximise light as much as I can with the scaffold being there, and she was just blocking out way too much light. So I've moved her so she's kind of up against one of the shelves. And I love her there. I really love her there, and I know I keep saying I'm going to chop her, and I've actually air layered a section to chop, but the thought of it also makes me quite sad, so I'm like, maybe I leave her a little bit longer, I don't know. Also, I'm finding it really hard because of how kind of awkward it is to get to the bit of her that's grown at the back. I'm finding it really hard to stay on top of keeping the air layered bit hydrated. Before it was a lot easier because it was just part of the moss pole, but it's drying out so fast by the window at the moment. So yeah, I need to try and stay on top of that a little bit more. Okay, this is now going to be fiddly, but now I need to carefully, whilst holding this in place, stuff the moss pole again and try not to damage the delicate aerial roots that are here. Keeping it really nice and loose. I said it last time as well, but obviously when this plant, or any plant that I'm using these moss poles with, when it gets bigger, I am going to need to kind of reinforce it at the back. I'm going to need to put probably like a metal cane or something down there to make sure the moss poles don't bend, because they are just, I think, kind of like polycarbonate, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, not that sturdy. But for the time being, this will be fine. Also, although I hope this plant does size up very quickly, it's not currently particularly heavy. Like, it's not like, again, I want to use the Monstera dubia as an example, but like the Jose Bueno or anything like that, it's not currently that heavy. So I do hope it'll be a little while before I need to worry about that. I know I don't need to fill the moss all the way to the top. However, with the rate at which it's growing and the fact I've got sphagnum moss right here, I thought I may as well just use what I've got. Okay, then I'm going to just do a little bit more soil actually, now that I've secured that all in, just around the back of the moss pole. I'm going to use one of the bits of tape from last time. Obviously the aerial roots are holding that section in place, but just to encourage it to keep going straight, I'm just going to tie this bit here into position. Perfect. I've just noticed as well, all of its foliage is going off that way, as if it's been chasing the light in that direction. And it hasn't. Like, it's just been facing the window straight, and if anything, the sun's more on this side, so that's a bit bizarre. But yeah, that is what it is looking like now. And I think just going to put it back into the same cube pot as before. So I'll just empty that out, give it a water through, and then it can sit nicely like so. Perfect. Yay. And I haven't got another one of those moss poles, actually. I haven't got another one. I'm tempted to order another one because, as I say, I've got my Philodendron Glorious, which was another imported plant, which I will show you in a minute, actually. That one, at some point, it isn't quite as quick to grow as this one, but at some point that will need a new moss pole as well. And I was going to get that one into soil today. Let's go have a look at it, actually. Yeah, so this one is currently looking like this. Oh, that new leaf has just unfurled and it's doing brilliantly. It is honestly doing so well. I am so proud of this one. And I'm growing this one very similarly, in fact, almost identical to the other one. But this one is just in a sphagnum moss cup with no drainage, and it does have much chunkier roots. Just look at those. And in fact, no, I thought that was a root, it's not. But yeah, oh my God. This one arguably is doing better. I've just looked at the back of the moss pole, and can you see all of those roots running down the back? They're up here as well. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. So yeah, this one, I would like to do exactly pretty much what I've done with that one. But you saw how easy, relatively easy, that transfer was, doing the substrate and the moss pole extension at the same time. I think I want to wait and order another big moss pole like that one before I get this one into soil. Oh my goodness. Its roots have got so big, they're like curled round the bottom. This is insane. Oh my God, I didn't expect this to be doing so well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on that one, but I don't think that is going to be a today job if I want to do it in the same way, and I do. So let me just consult my list and see what else I wanted to do this morning. Okay, so a couple of other things that I have had on my list for a while. Let's just shove all of this over here, we'll deal with it later. Firstly, my Allocation Nebula. As you can see, it's doing okay. This is one of the ones I got in Malvern, but all of it is kind of very much facing down and it doesn't look as happy as it could. And I just had a pot for it. Where did I just put the pot for it? Okay, I'll find that in a minute. But the reason commonly that Alocasia does this, some are more prone than others, is when you have it in light that is too much for it. And I've had this one in my cabinet right underneath my mother grow light. My mother grow lights are quite powerful, and so really this one did not need to be that close to it. It was just a little shelf that it fit at the time. But on top of that, I'm not quite sure how healthy the root system is. I can see things have gone a bit sludgy in there. So I thought I would get it out, have a look at it, maybe actually divide it as well, because there's actually 2 in there. So I'm going to see how I feel when I get in there. And repot it. But hold that thought, because I want to go find... Oh, it's right here. I found it. This is the pot that I'm thinking, assuming it looks okay, I would like to use. Again, I'm just going to pop you down a little bit. Oh yeah, I think it's a good thing, a very good thing. That side checks, because although, as I say, root rot is far less likely to happen with semi-hydro, if you're not super on top of monitoring it, the dust from the semi-hydro over time can build up around the roots, even if you have given it a proper rinse. And although this bit looks fine, you can see at the bottom here, oh, it's gone everywhere. It's a little bit sludgy. So I'm just going to get off what's there. Yeah, it doesn't smell awful actually. But if I just break away this little one, the smaller section actually is looking healthier than the larger section. It's got very, very, very small roots. And I'm probably going to pop this one actually into sphagnum moss. I'm just going to give those roots a little room. Yeah, I think I'll put this one into sphagnum moss just to kind of help its root system establish a little bit better. And I'll come back to it in, I don't know, maybe like a month or so and see how it's doing. And then this one, this is the one that I was planning on, as I say, potting up. This side looks okay. However, look at the roots on this side. That's like black. That's not good at all. So I'm going to just get off as much as I can and check, obviously, that this hasn't spread to the rhizome. And the rhizome is just this bit. It's basically the underground stem, this bit here. And if it spreads to that, then, as I've said many a time in the past, you are essentially doomed. But luckily it does not look like it has. I think I've caught this early enough. But yeah, there's lots of roots here that are not in a good state, so I'm glad I checked. I'm actually even tempted to get this one to sphagnum moss and just give it a little bit of root rehabbing. It's not a bad shout with alocasia. I've done it many times before. I did it with my alocasia green shields quite recently, and I'm so glad I did it. I honestly, like, it's like a whole new plant, and I'm loving it way more than I was before because it was just being such a drama queen before. So I think I'll probably keep these sections in my cabinet, but just restart them a little bit. Oh my god, it's actually a corm. In fact, there's a few corms here, but that corm probably wasn't quite ready to be taken off, but I have taken it off by accident, so I will propagate that. Also, oh my god, no, again, I sometimes get confused. I was going to say it was on Patreon that I did this. But my variegated alocasia fry deck, I got back from holiday, and I think I might have shown this in a video the other day, but I got back from holiday and it was not looking happy. There were like 3 leaves that needed to be chopped. It was just, again, like very bent over like this, but like more just droopy, and it didn't look good. And I was like, what is going on? Because I looked at the roots and I was like, the roots look fine. Its reservoir was fine. And I got it out of its pot to kind of have a proper look at it. And I found like, I think about 8 corms, and they were massive. Some of them were like that big, which is insane. And sometimes alocasias, when they do show signs of not looking very well, it can just be because they are putting so much energy into essentially creating offspring. And that takes away from the energy that they're putting out here. I said quite recently as well, my alocasia heterophylla, my alocasia dragon's breath, that one has given me, like every single time it's given me a new leaf, it's been sizing up more and more and more. However, its most recent leaf has come out really small, and I'm like, I wonder why, nothing's changed. And my theory is that it's probably producing some corms at the moment, and that's why it's not quite as like big as it was. I am actually, you know what, I am going to separate these corms. There's another one here. And there's 2 more here, but they really are quite small at the bottom, and I want to just leave that for the time being. I'm just going to give the roots a little rinse as well. Yeah, that is much better. Ooh, the sun's just come out. God, that makes me so happy. It's been such a miserable morning here. As I say, the seasons have just, like, it like, I don't know if anyone else feels this. It feels like the seasons have just changed overnight. All of a sudden, it's like colder, it's darker. It was, as I say, dark when I got out of bed this morning, which is just so sad. Ooh. I think as well, I'm actually running, dangerously low, I think, on sphagnum moss. Let's get some more. Oh, I've got definitely more than enough for today, but yeah, this is the last of it now, so let's do a little stock up. I'm really glad I checked this allocation today, because although luckily it has been fine, I do think that perhaps if I'd left that another few days, it might not have been fine. It might have just, the rot might have spread. So yeah, as I say, very glad that I did that now. So that's one section of it, which again I'm going to put far away from my grow light. It's still going to be getting good light in my cabinet, like all of my cabinet gets good light, but I'm not going to put it right underneath it anymore. And then this diddy little section is just going to have its own cup as well, sphagnum moss. And I might even try this one outside of the cabinet, you know. I've got a couple of sections, so I may as well play around with it. I don't think, or I don't feel like it's an allocation that will require like crazy high levels of humidity. I might be wrong about that, but often when they're more like waxy and leathery in their texture, which this one definitely is, they don't need quite as much, so we'll see. But I feel like it would probably be okay somewhere else. How adorable is that? And I guess actually, depending on how they get on, it could be plant swap stuff. On the note of plant swap, the other thing that I have been going back and forth with for quite a while, and I haven't known whether or not it's something I actually want to do, I've been thinking it for a little while, is chop up my variegated Rhaphidophora tetrasperma and get rid of it. And I know that sounds very sad, and I know I've said that I've been excited about this plant at points. It's done pretty well, and it's growing off the moss pole here. And although it's got a little bit of variegation, again, as it's got more and more, the variegation is becoming less and less. That's something I really struggle with. I have not been able to sustain a good level of variegation. And also lots of the variegated sections down here, as you can see, I've lost a lot of them because they've gone really brown and crispy. Oh, it's also not stable. But yeah, like you can see that bit's browning. And I just don't have the energy. I can't be bothered with it anymore. It's not a plant that I love enough to try and save. When I say save, I mean restore variegation in order to grow again. So I know it is a plant that a lot of people really want at the moment, and it is starting to become a little bit more accessible, but I have got the October plant swap coming up, which if you haven't got tickets for, tickets are currently on sale now, I believe, and they sell out very, very quickly. So if you want to come, it's www.anotherplantswap.com. In fact, I'll put it down in the description box below. But yeah, I think someone else is going to appreciate this way more than I am, and I'm hoping I might be able to get some lovely swaps for it. So I'm going to just chop it up. And I can see lots of sections have really great aerial roots. Like, look at that. That is literally good to go. And that is a beautiful cutting, actually. the size of those leaves is gorgeous, but it's just obviously not highly variegated, which I don't have to think of. I don't know. Does it matter? Do people care? I mean, yes, people care, of course people care, but what I'm saying is I think someone will still love it. So yeah, I'm just going to get these into sphagnum moss. Part of me's like, shall I let it callus? But I typically don't for standard Raftophora tetrasperma, so I'm not going to bother. I'm just not going to, I'm not going to like make the moss really wet. I'm just going to keep it lightly damp. And I'm not sure how many cuttings I will take, but I am going to chop up the whole plant. And in fact, because it is so well rooted into this moss pole, like look at the roots going all the way down. Some of these could almost just be potted up straight away because they are already rooted, if that makes sense. So I think it will do pretty well. But yeah, I need to start thinking about what I'm going to take to the plant swap. I mean, I think it's always a bit of a last minute dash for me, because unless I've got a plant specifically like this one that I am wanting to chop, I'm very precious about my plants on the whole, and a lot of the time I haven't chopped them for a reason, and I don't want to chop them for the sake of going to the swap. So nowadays, very different to how I was when I first started going to the plant swaps, but I will prefer to go with less, but things that I actually think would make a good trade. That's not to say that you need to go with really rare stuff, because like you get people bringing pothos cuttings and all sorts, but I think this time I'll probably bring some of these, some variegated fried eggs. I think I'll bring some of those because I've got so many of them. And then I don't know. I think I'm going to have to check my prop boxes. I did load up prop boxes, I think about 4 months ago now. In fact, maybe even longer ago than that. I put a load of stuff into propagation boxes with the thought of, oh my God, I'm going to be sorted when it comes to the next plant swap. So I need to go back and I need to look and see what I've got, really. Also, are any of you guys that are either London-based or UK-based, are any of you coming to the October plant swap? It's always so lovely to get to meet you there. And if any of you are looking for anything specific as well, I don't know if this goes against plant swap etiquette, but drop me a message and let me know, and then maybe we can swap. It's so wonderful how much plant swaps seem to be popping up just like all about at the moment. As I say, the plant community that I speak to is kind of all over the world, and I know there's loads of plant swaps that are happening in the States, lots obviously in Canada as well, and I hope that that will just continue to grow and grow, because not even just like house plants, but like plants, I think the more, as I was saying earlier, like the more the world becomes technology focused, I think the more need for things like plants and connecting with nature in different ways the more important it becomes. And there is a real, also this is now getting difficult, without destroying the moss pole, which I don't want to have to do. What was I saying? Yeah, the more the need for connection with nature becomes a thing. Oh, okay. Okay, it's not the end of the world. I lost a bit of the root that was in the moss pole there. Still got very good roots. But yeah, like even here, see, that is just starting to turn. And that typically, to me, looks a bit like a watering imbalance thing. Like, as you can see, it's not pest related or anything. And I don't think I've done anything weird with the watering of this plant. The roots have looked healthy. I've checked them many times. So yeah, I don't know. This plant is taking up too much of like, oh, do I, don't I, should I, shouldn't I? And when you love a plant, of course, it's worth it. But when you start falling out of love, you just go, do I really want the drama? Can I be bothered with the drama? And for me, the answer is no. But like I say, it's good to think that these... It's the wonderful thing about the swaps, isn't it? Except it's really good to think that these are going to make someone else really happy. Oh, perfect. Just pulled it out of the moss pole very successfully, and those aerial roots are crazy. Get lots of lovely cuttings from this though, my God. And I'm not really showing you these as I go through, but most of them, well, in fact, these two have been just one leaf ones with several nodes in there, and then the top ones have been multiple leaves. I could do wet sticks as well, but you know what, I think I'm just going to combine. The one thing I always find really difficult, like really difficult, at the plant swaps is saying no when people, like, for example, if someone comes up to me, like, to be honest, I don't take anything to the plant swaps nowadays that I would be upset if I didn't get a good swap for. Like, sometimes I would just be like, you know what, if I come with it, I don't want to come home with it. I just find I cannot say no to things, and I know absolutely you can. There's only ever been, I think, about 3 or 4 plants that are really what I would consider like unusual, and ones that I could get like really great swaps for that I've taken. And this might sound a bit naughty, but it's just the only way that I can do it and feel okay about it. Is I will usually keep them in the box that I brought them in, and I will approach people and say, I've got this, do you want to swap that? Anything I put out on the table, oh, battery died, oops. But yeah, anything I put out on the table, I am typically prepared to just like swap for not anything, but just let it go to the right person. Like, sometimes I won't even swap. Sometimes I'll just say, you know what, if you really like it, have it, and we can swap at a later date or whatever. It doesn't really have to be a swap for swap thing for me. But yeah, I think what I might maybe do at this one is I might maybe keep like that lovely top section. I might... Oh, I don't know. I'll see how I feel on the day. At the end of the day, like I say, with the variegated Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, it is just one that hasn't really, like, it hasn't been the plant for me. So I'd prefer it to go to someone that's really going to love it than anything else. And this bottom section of the plant here, that's barely even variegated. Although it did produce, good grief. I might just take that as is, maybe. So I'm going to have that bottom section. Cool. Oh my God, I've got loads of them here. Pop the camera down so you can see. Look at them all. Oh, my camera is not secure as I put it in. But yeah, I've got so many. Perfect. I feel like today has been a very waffly video indeed. I'm thinking back over like some of the subjects that I've covered and I'm like, God, where did that come from? But the next step, I think, in my self-care day is going to have to be a dog walk, and then I think I'm going to make myself a healthy lunch. I've got some work to do this afternoon, but I'm going to try and do it mindfully. I'm going to just try and do it at a nice pace, open the windows, get some air flowing through. And yeah, already, like, I do genuinely feel more relaxed than I did when I first woke up this morning. I think just doing things a little bit slower, just reminding yourself to slow down, And like, as I always say, thank you so much for listening, because sometimes just having one of these waffly chats and just allowing your brain to go in all the weird and wonderful directions is really therapeutic in a way. It's really lovely. So yeah, whatever you guys are doing for the rest of the day, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful time. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Stay sexy, plant lovers.